The Chicago Tylenol murders were a series of poisoning deaths resulting from drug tampering in the Chicago metropolitan area in 1982. The victims had all taken Tylenol-branded acetaminophen capsules that had been laced with potassium cyanide. A total of 7 people died in the original poisonings, with several more deaths in subsequent copycat crimes. No suspect was ever charged or convicted of the poisonings. New York City resident James William Lewis was convicted of extortion for sending a letter to Johnson & Johnson that took credit for the deaths and demanded $1 million to stop them, but evidence tying him to the actual poisoning never emerged. The incidents led to reforms in the packaging of over-the-counter substances and to federal anti-tampering laws. The actions of Johnson & Johnson to reduce deaths and warn the public of poisoning risks have been widely praised as an exemplary public relations response to such a crisis. 2. On September 29, 1982, 12-year-old Mary Kellerman of Elk Grove Village, Illinois died after taking a capsule of extra-strength Tylenol. 3. Adam Janus, 27, of Arlington Heights, Illinois, died in the hospital later that day after ingesting Tylenol. His brother Stanley, 25, and sister-in-law Teresa, 19, of Lisle, Illinois, later also died after taking Tylenol from the same bottle. 3. Within the next few days, Mary McFarland, 31, of Elmhurst, Illinois, Paula Prince, 35, of Chicago, and Mary Reiner, 27, of Winfield all died in similar incidents. 4, 5, 6. Once it was realized that all these people had recently taken Tylenol, tests were quickly carried out, which soon revealed cyanide present in the bottles. Warnings were then issued via the media and patrols using loudspeakers, warning residents throughout the Chicago metropolitan area to discontinue use of Tylenol products. 4. Police, knowing that various sources of Tylenol were tampered with, ruled out manufacturers, as the tampered with bottles came from different pharmaceutical companies, and the 7 deaths had all occurred in the Chicago area, so sabotage during production was ruled out. Instead, police concluded that they were likely looking for a culprit who was believed to have acquired bottles of Tylenol from various retail outlets. 3. Furthermore, they concluded the source was most likely supermarkets and drugstores, over a period of several weeks, with the culprit likely adding the cyanide to the capsules, then methodically returning to the stores to place the bottles back on the shelves. 4. In addition to the 5 bottles that led to the victims' deaths, 3 other contaminated bottles were later discovered. In a concerted effort to reassure the public, Johnson & Johnson distributed warnings to hospitals and distributors and halted Tylenol production and advertising. On October 5, 1982, it issued a nationwide recall of Tylenol products. An estimated 31 million bottles were in circulation, with a retail value of over $100 million, equivalent to $265 million in 2019. 7. The company also advertised in the national media for individuals not to consume any of its products that contained acetaminophen after it was determined that only these capsules had been tampered with. Johnson & Johnson also offered to exchange all Tylenol capsules already purchased by the public for solid tablets. During the initial investigations, a man named James William Lewis sent a letter to Johnson & Johnson demanding $1 million to stop the cyanide-induced murders. 4. Identified via fingerprints and the envelope used, police were unable to link him with the crimes, as he and his wife were living in New York City at the time. He was, however, convicted of extortion, and later served 13 years of a 20-year sentence, and was paroled in 1995. WCVB Channel 5 of Boston reported that court documents released in early 2009 show Department of Justice investigators concluded Lewis was responsible for the poisonings, despite the fact that they did not have enough evidence to charge him. In January 2010, both Lewis and his wife submitted DNA samples and fingerprints to authorities. 8. Lewis stated, "If the FBI plays it fair, I have nothing to worry about." 8. Lewis continues to deny all responsibility for the poisonings. 8-9. A second man, Roger Arnold, was identified, investigated and cleared of the killings. He had a nervous breakdown due to the media attention, which he blamed on Marty Sinclair, a bar owner. In the summer of 1983, Arnold shot and killed John Stanisha, an unrelated man whom he mistook for Sinclair and who did not know Arnold. 10. Arnold was convicted in January 1984 and served 15 years of a 30-year sentence for second-degree murder. 4. He died in June 2008. Lori Dan, who poisoned and shot an unknown number of people in a May 1988 rampage in and around Winnetka, Illinois, was briefly considered as a suspect, but no direct connection was found. 11. In early 1983, at the FBI's request, Chicago Tribune columnist Bob Greene published the address and grave location of the first and youngest victim, Mary Kellerman. The story, written with the Kellerman family's consent, was proposed by FBI criminal analyst John Douglas on the theory that the perpetrator might visit the house or gravesite if he were made aware of their locations. Both sites were kept under 24-hour video surveillance for several months, but the killer did not surface. 412. A surveillance photo of Paula Prince purchasing cyanide-tempered Tylenol at a Walgreens on 1601 North Wells Street was released by the Chicago Police Department. Police believe that a bearded man seen just feet behind Prince may be the killer. 13. In early January 2009, Illinois authorities renewed the investigation. Federal agents searched the home of Lewis in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and seized a number of items. 14. In Chicago, an FBI spokesman declined to comment but said we'll have something to release later possibly. 15. Law enforcement officials have received a number of tips related to the case coinciding with its anniversary. In a written statement, 16, the FBI